Welcome to Orion Philosophy, where we explore, discuss and dissect areas of practical philosophy for use in everyday life. Thousands of years ago, around AD 50, under the Mediterranean sun, a child was born into slavery in ancient Greece. The child was given a name by their parents, but that name has since been lost to history. The name we now know him by can be translated as gained or acquired, reflecting his birth into service. History remembers him as Epictetus. As a man, Epictetus found a passion in philosophy and was permitted by his master Epictetus, secretary to Emperor Nero and himself a former slave, to study Stoicism, attending the lectures of Gaius Masonius Rufus, a prominent Stoic philosopher in Rome at the time. In AD 68, having been declared a public enemy by the Senate, Emperor Nero took his own life, and Epictetus was granted his freedom sometime after. With his newfound freedom, Epictetus began to teach Stoic philosophy, and later set up his own school in Greece after being banished from Rome by Emperor Domitian around AD 98. Despite never having written any of his teachings, we have come to know Epictetus's philosophy through the meticulous notes taken by one of his students, Arrian. Through Arrian, we know Epictetus to be pragmatic, clear, practical, and straight to the point. His philosophy was one of real-world application, one that challenges us to question ourselves, tears down the lies and comforting stories we tell ourselves, and unapologetically asks us to rethink many of the preconceptions and beliefs we have of ourselves, we have of other people, and we have of the world around us. He taught us to nurture our inner resilience, our wisdom, peace of mind, and virtue. These are some of Epictetus's greatest quotes. We are not privy to the stories behind people's actions, so we should be patient with others and suspend judgment of them, recognizing the limits of our understanding. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself, to the choices that are my own. Nothing great is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, and then ripen. Know you not that a good man does nothing for appearance sake, but for the sake of having done right? There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about the things which are beyond the power of our will. Deliberate much before saying or doing anything, for you will not have the power to recall what is said or done. Men are not disturbed by things, but by the views which they take of things. Thus death is nothing terrible, else it would have appeared so to Socrates. But the terror consists in our notion of death, that it is terrible. When therefore we are hindered, or disturbed, or grieved, let us never impute it to others, but to ourselves, that is, to our own views. It is the action of an uninstructed person to reproach others for his misfortunes, of one entering upon instruction to reproach himself, and of one perfectly instructed to reproach neither others or himself. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Other people's views and troubles can be contagious. Don't sabotage yourself by unwittingly adopting negative, unproductive attitudes through your association with others. Remember, it is not enough to be hit or insulted to be harmed. You must believe that you are being harmed. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. which is why it is essential that we not respond impulsively to impressions. Take a moment before reacting, and you will find it easier to maintain control. I laugh at those who think they can damage me. They do not know who I am. They do not know what I think. They cannot even touch the things which are really mine, and with which I live. Difficulty shows what men are. Therefore, when a difficulty falls upon you, remember that God, like a trainer of wrestlers, has matched you with a rough young man, so that you may become an Olympic conqueror. But it is not accomplished without sweat. God has entrusted me with myself. No man is free who is not master of himself. A man should so live that his happiness shall depend as little as possible on external things. The world turns aside to let any man pass who knows where he is going. Don't seek to have events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and all will be well with you. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests. Remember that you ought to behave in life as you would at a banquet. As something is being passed around, it comes to you. Stretch out your hand, take a portion of it politely. It passes on, do not detain it. Or it has not yet come to you, do not project your desire to meet it, but wait until it comes in front of you. So act toward children, so toward a wife, so toward office, so toward wealth. I must die. Must I then die lamenting? I must be put in chains. Must I then also lament? I must go into exile. Does any man then hinder me from going with smiles and cheerfulness and contentment? It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows.